Hi, everybody. Welcome. Good morning. Welcome. Happy New Year, by the way. Just to kind of chronologically throw this all into place, Happy New Year. Uh, Welcome to Conversations with Calvin, We the Species. And I'm with such a very unusual, accomplished, and her story is, I find, quite amazing.
Thank you.
Uh, well, it is. So I'm with Mikayla McLaughlin. And as with so many uh, people I meet, we met on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Talia is a senior at Rutgers University. We met on LinkedIn and through the chemistry and magic and Zoom and I began to learn about her. It was one of those oh wows. And then we're also Mikayla also has a podcast, so we are fellow uh, podcasters. So the commonality was powerful, but her story is powerful, and I'm just kind of setting this up really powerful and inspirational. One of those oh wows, and I kind of tip my hat and everything. So now that I've kind of set that up, I just want to introduce you, Michaela, and do a little bio, and then we're going to kind of jump into what I think is quite an amazing story about you. So
Thank
take it
you.
away.
Thank you for having me, Calvin. It's been really great connecting with you. I am Mikayla. I'm currently 22. I'm a Rutgers University senior. I have been there for 4 years and I'm almost done, but I have a brother who is 9 years old and he has a rare disease called Evans syndrome. I'll talk about it later, but it's been really hard when it's just him and I'm almost like a second mother to him. But not too long ago, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. It's actually Crohn's colitis because it affects the top part of my stomach and the bottom. So that's why it's Crohn's colitis. But it's really been a journey for my family to deal with two people with illnesses. And I have had to deal with mental health, with dealing with communication issues because I repressed a lot of things when I started to realize I was sick, which ultimately made my stomach worse. But I have been through a lot. And in the end, I really think it has made me a better person.
You know, I mean, just look. I mean, who would imagine? You're so put together,
Thank you.
so eloquent, and beneath the surface. So let's kind of do some dissection.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I guess the first question, and of course, these are things that these questions are, been put together with your guidance. So I'm not, I never step out of my character here to ask. I'm not Woodward and Bernstein, that kind of a journalist. I'm kind of a positive journalist by
Good.
choice. So, but anyway, tell us about your brother's disease and how it shaped your family dynamic and your view on life. I mean, that's so
Sure.
important.
When my brother was born, I was 13 years old. So we already had a huge age gap. And when he was about 1.5, he was hospitalized for pneumonia. And then he would come home and then he would get hospitalized again for pneumonia or for the flu or for something. And then one day he was on the trampoline and he was jumping up and down and he fell and he started crying. So my mom went over to see if he was okay. And then he actually had black dots on his leg. And my mom she says to this day, I had a bad feeling in my gut and I knew I had to go to the doctors because she knew that it wasn't a normal, it looked like this tiny, very black dot. So we brought him to the doctor. The doctor said, we're sending you to the Cancer Institute right away. Like you have to get bone marrow tests, all these things. So we're like, and my mom, I remember to this day, the first thing my mom said was, I need to know, is my son going to die? And she said that in front of me, which I'm glad she said that in front of me because she let me see the reality of like what was going through her head. And I just remember breaking down and being like, what's happening? Because it happened so fast. And then he would get hospitalized again. It took them about 2 years to finally
Wow.
narrow everything down, basically by process of elimination. They said, okay, well, it's not cancer, it's not leukemia, it's not this, it's not that. But there were a lot of similarities with leukemia in the sense that he has low platelets, he has low red and white blood cells, and he's autoimmune. So he gets sick a lot, and he would get these bloody noses. Like, he would bleed for 24 hours out of his nose because it just wouldn't stop because his platelets were like so low. So we spent a lot of time at Rutgers, believe it or not, before I was at Rutgers. And, you know, in the hospital, and I learned a lot about myself, good and bad, being in the hospital. And it really did, it took a toll on our family, as it does for every family in that situation. It's hard to communicate fears. It's hard to, especially for me, I am such a person where I want to put everyone before me. So it was really hard being a teenager, and kind of like, it's usually the stage when people grow up and they branch out and do their own things. But I felt more attached to my family because I wanted to help heal them almost.
Okay. So we got that element of heaviness, and now talk a little bit about your diagnosis of Crohn's, and how does that, I mean, even affect you? I don't know a lot about it, but I mean, how does Crohn's even affect you on a daily basis?
Right. So just going back a little bit, my whole life, I can remember I had a stomach ache, a headache, tiredness, just all these signs that I really believe I had it my whole life and I didn't know. They told me when I was like 8 years old, 6 years old, you know, you're lactose intolerant. Here's a lactate pill. Don't have dairy, like have less cheese, and which I love cheese, so that was hard. But, you know, when I went into high school, it was like seriously a problem. And I was like, you know, I have to go to the doctor, get something. And then they diagnosed me with Crohn's, but being that my brother was like in full swing sick, I kind of got swept aside because I was the healthier one. And then when I went back to college, I think what it was is I developed a voice for myself. I kind of became a self advocate, and I was like, had to put my foot down and say, there's really something wrong with me. I just knew it. And then I went to the doctor again, got the scopes again, and then a different doctor diagnosed me with Crohn's colitis. And she was like, sweetie, you've had this for like 10 plus years. She's like, you have 10 plus years of ulcers. And then it affects me recently mostly because I never had a hospital stay with it. They put me on steroids. They put me on 9 pills a day, like crazy medicines. And then actually this past year on my birthday, I was bleeding every time. So I had to get rushed to the hospital because every time I stood up, I would faint because my blood was so low and I was so dehydrated. And this is all on my birthday. It was crazy. But that was really when it affected me because my blood was so low that it felt, I felt like death. And I kept saying to my mom, like, I'm graduating college. Like, I've come to terms with so many things about myself. Like, I'm going to die. I really did think I was going to die, but luckily I'm still here. And now they have me on Stelara, which I actually have to give myself a shot every 8 weeks, which is like weird. And then I also take 9 pills a day. And I think it mostly affects me when I'm in pain, because even though I'm on these medicines, I still have flare-ups and I still have that tiredness and that headache, because with Crohn's comes anemia as well because of the flare-ups. So it is difficult, but I actually have a really high pain tolerance. So most of the time I'll be in pain and I won't even tell you.
So, I mean, just looking at you and listening to you, to me, it's a wow, because nobody would ever, it's not like you're a great actress, but the way you perform and engage, and we're going to talk about your own podcast soon, and your energy level and your passion. I mean, so it is a wow. What I think is really interesting about you also was your course of study. You're studying dance at Rutgers, and then you also added psych
Hmm.
to your course of study. Why'd you do that?
So I have been dancing since I was 2 years old, and I knew that no matter what I do, dance is going to be a part of my life. I knew that going into college, and I almost felt guilty for like having such a passion for dance. Like, you can't really do anything with dance, like, but I'm going to go in and I'm going to do dance because I know that's part of who I am. And then about sophomore year, I had a breakdown and I called my mom and I was like, I can't just be dance. I need to add psychology. I love learning about people. I love learning about people's minds. I love helping people. I was like, this is meant for me and I'll do something with it. And then I realized that what I want to do is child life. And it was instant that I was like, I'm going to do child life. I'm going to be a child life specialist with this. And I'm going to figure it out because I want to help people like my brother and I who are in the hospital.
It's it's quite a wow. So you managed to stay so amazingly positive. You know, listening to you, and I don't know you that long, but you've also taken all this energy and you channel it, and you do a lot of volunteer stuff. Can you want to talk about that?
Sure. So the reason I would say I stayed so positive is simply for survival. I would say I wouldn't survive if I were negative. I would be laying in my bed, sad, crying, just it would hurt me to be negative. And I realized that with being positive, I almost had to get out of my own head by helping other people. So I actually in high school, I was the coordinator of 2 blood drives. So I set them up. I put flyers around my high school, and because I knew that blood goes to people like, well, my brother, he gets blood transfusions, platelet transfusions all the time. So I was like, I got to do something because I felt powerless almost because I can't give them the medicine. I'm not a doctor, but I can at least do something. And then I also, I did many fundraisers for Dance Marathon even before I went to Rutgers, which is weird. If you guys don't know what Dance Marathon is, it's a philanthropic event where we raise money for Embrace Kids Foundation, which is a local foundation for children with chronic diseases in New Brunswick. So even before I was at Rutgers, I was raising money for Rutgers. And I actually created my senior year of high school a mini dance marathon. It was on Halloween, and there was like maybe 50 people there, but like 50 of my friends who came and donated $100 each. So I raised a good amount of money for Embrace Kids there.
That's great. So, Mikayla, we're gonna go off topic a little bit, just to
Sure.
kind of lighten it a little bit. So here's a one of my favorite questions to ask. So,
Mhm.
excluding family or friends, uh, who would you like, living or dead, to spend a day with during the pandemic?
Oh, wow. Um, hmm.
Kind of fun. And you can answer a few people. It's whatever you're
That
comfortable.
is fun. So I'm going to say exactly what came to my mind at first.
Yes.
It's actually a YouTuber that I look up to. I don't look up to many people, but there's one YouTuber, Emma Chamberlain. She's younger than me, actually, which is
Wow.
funny. But the reason I say this is because her content is raw and it's honest, and she makes fun videos, but she also talks about her mental health, and she talks about like what fame did to her and how like gaining money or followers like didn't change her anxieties. And the reason I say I would want to spend a day with her is because, I have goals similar to hers, it seems, and I would want to get like some
That's great.
advice and see what it's like to be in her shoes.
Great answer. Great answer. Let's come back to reality a little bit.
Sure.
Um, so we talked, and you started going to therapy at Rutgers.
Yeah.
and of course, we're both Rutgers people, and we know the amazing things that Rutgers does. We talked about it before we went on air, athletically. So how has that helped you? The therapy part at Rutgers, and what were some of the things that you were while you were going to therapy that actually helped you heal?
Right. I think the main thing with me personally, is I hold a lot in. I don't want to make anyone feel like I'm a negative aspect in their life, or that I'm burdening them. So going to therapy really helped me have a free space to release and to just talk about my problems without judgment. And I think a lot of what really helped me gain confidence was just hearing a second person that wasn't interwoven into my real life to say, other people experience this, and you're not the only one. You're not crazy. Like, you're human. We all have emotions. And even just hearing that made me feel more normal and gain that confidence to work for myself.
Well, what a powerful experience. As I sit here and listen to you, I kind of I say, wow. I mean, what you've accomplished.
And I have to say, I was so afraid to go to therapy. I 100% was afraid, because I was almost taught that therapy is for crazy people. And, there is a stigma around it, that it's for crazy people and they're going to put you on meds. And like, I wasn't put on meds, and it's not for crazy people. A lot of people need to go through it. And it really just helped me feel that just the judgment free space really was so powerful.
And in that process, uh, well, the whole Rutgers experience, it also helped shape you as an individual. Also, if
Yeah.
you want to say a few words about that.
So it's weird, because I met a lot of Rutgers people actually before I went to Rutgers, being that my brother's hospital is right in New Brunswick. And my mom and I have always said this, like, there's just something special about Rutgers people. It's almost indescribable. Like, there's a sense of community, and I feel that everyone I talk to, there's this relatedness, and everyone somehow wants to give back. And that really just, I instantly felt like I was part of a community. And I mean, I've been inspired by the amount of people who do give back and who do positive things. It just makes me want to be a better person. But at the same time, I don't feel there's a competitive side of it, because I personally get intimidated by schools that are high competitive. And if you don't have dean's lists, then like you're bad or whatever. But for me, if we're all supporting each other, then like we'll all succeed eventually. And that's what it feels like.
That's great. I sit here and I hear that as I've been doing my podcast since September. I hear that so often, the positivity, the community.
Yeah.
We could talk about it a whole bunch. We will, but you're doing a great internship now at Robert Wood Johnson.
Yeah.
In child life, is that right? Child life.
Yeah. Child life.
Can you kind of talk about that? I don't know much about it. Child life.
Sure. So, I said before, I found out about child life through my brother. He would be in the emergency room, like with a nosebleed, before he goes up to his actual room. And, typically a young woman would walk in and say, do you need anything? Do you want some Legos? Like, I'll grab something for you. If you need anything, if you guys need to talk, we're here for you. And I was like, is that a job or is that a volunteer thing? Like, I was always so fascinated by it. And then I started asking questions. And then actually through Rutgers, the psychology program, I saw child life as one of the internship options. And I was like, whoa, this is meant for me. Like, I'll do it. And so what I do there is I help children ages 0 to 22, about 22, that's the oldest I've had, cope with being in the hospital. And I've worked with a lot of cancer patients, leukemia patients, some patients who are in for like psychological problems, some patients who are just in because they have like a kidney infection. So I really get a wide variety of patients who are there long term, and then patients who are there overnight. And then I also see kids who have a single mother and they're at work, so they're alone a lot, or kids who have a very supportive family and the whole family's there. So you really have to adapt to what the child wants, but it's such a rewarding job because, you know, when you're a child in the hospital and you see someone walk in the room and they're not going to prick you or hurt you or take your temperature, you instantly get excited because it's like, oh, it's a friend for me. And that's what it feels like.
Wow. So, what you're coming on graduation, it's not that far away. So what are your plans after you graduate?
So right now, I actually just handed in my application for Rider University's master program in dance therapy. I am also going through with my certification in child life. I actually am taking all the courses for it now, and then I have to get more hours of an internship, and then I'll be certified. So it's like I'm taking the steps there. My goal is to be certified before I finish at Rider, which will be in 2 years, which is wild. But yeah, with the dance therapy program, I plan on combining child life with dance therapy in a hospital setting. So I could help children like prepare for surgeries, and if they're out of procedures and they need to get moving, I'll dance with them.
Wow. Another off topic. I always like to young people. So, roughly, if I'm asking you now, what are 5 things in life you can't be without?
5 things I can't be without.
I always like to explore the mind of young Generation Z or X or whatever. I always get a kick out of this question.
I would say family, friends, dance, therapy, and oh wow, music. Because for me, music is an escape.
What great answer. Fabulous answer. So now let's talk about, because I think we actually met because we discovered each other, podcast. So you have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Let's talk all about that. And of course, at the bottom of the screen, people will see where they can get in touch. You've got a podcast, so talk about that. Talk about how people can see, and let's promote your podcast. I don't promote mine.
So I have always loved YouTube. I always loved watching YouTube. Since I can remember, I watched it. But I never thought that I would have the confidence to start my own channel. And then in this past August, I said to my boyfriend, I'm like, would it bother you if I started a YouTube channel? Because I don't know, I felt like it might bother him. I don't know. And he was like, no, why would that bother me? He's like, do it. And so I think it just gave me that like confidence to do it. And I was like, you know what? I'll just do it. I have a lot to talk about, skin picking, binge eating, all these things that I could talk about. And also just like Crohn's disease. So I was like, it'll be a good platform for me to get my story out there, because my goal with the channel, and I wrote down all my goals and stuff at first, but my first goal of the channel is to help other people if they can't go to therapy or if they have the same problems and they just want to hear someone else's story, because those were the things that helped me when I was coming to terms with all of the things that I've come to terms with. But yeah, I really just post fun. Sometimes I just post fun videos because sometimes, like I said, with the music thing, you just want an escape. So sometimes I post fun videos. Other times I'll post deeper things about, my brother, myself, and or things I talk about in therapy.
And people will be able to find, I mean, I'm on your team, and we'll promote your podcast.
Yeah.
And again, that's how we kind of met. So I think that's great. Finally, because you're a senior.
Yeah.
You're a senior now, so that allows you to give advice. So, yeah, I guess the last kind of a question would be, what is your advice like to college students?
Right.
Just general.
So I always say the thing that got me through college was my planner. I write everything down, whether it's shower and eat dinner. I write everything down and I have it. I mean, it's whatever way you want it to be, but sometimes I just write it in a pen, all black pen. Sometimes I highlight certain things, but if I did not write all those things down, I would have missed 90% of my assignments, like, because you're so busy and you're going through the motions that you just forget everything. So even if you don't have a planner, like write it on a piece of paper, just write down the things you have to do. And it helps you mentally with goals of the day. And then ultimately you'll be successful long-term, just writing things down. And also something I do every semester, in the beginning of every semester, is writing down 5 goals for myself.
Wow.
And it's crazy because I write them down, barely look back at them. And then by the end of the semester, I'll look back and be like, whoa, I did that. Like, just because writing them down does something to my subconscious.
Smart stuff. You know, what's interesting, I'm smiling here because you talked about a planner.
Yeah.
And my mother instructed me before I started college to get a planner. And,
Yeah.
and I want you to know, and I'm laughing hysterically, I have, I'm going to date myself now, but what the hell? I have every planner from my entire life, from 1963 to right now to 2021. I have every planner, and I look back not often. I'll go to the basement and I'll find my college planners, and I have a bunch of them because I had an extended college stay.
That's funny you say that because I'm a minimalist. I get rid of everything, but my planners I keep because I like to look back at them.
Yeah, hey, you know what? It's a diary, and I had everything in my planner, and
it really helps.
Yeah, so that planner thing is great advice because it works, and gosh, I've been doing it. I mean, I literally have 2 boxes filled with planners.
Yeah,
and I do kind of look back. So this has been meeting you has been wonderful, and for me, very inspirational. And we are fellow podcasters, and we talked about before we went on air continuing our collaboration. So I'm always going to be open where you know our commonality, our bonds of Rutgers and Ryder, because you know my son, Ryder. So there's even more commonality. So I can't thank you enough for your time, your honesty, your passion, your love of Rutgers, and only wishing you good things, and you and I and continuing, we'll continue to do projects together and collaborations. So Mikayla, I wish you such a happy, healthy new year. Healthy new year.
Yeah.
And thank you for this, and for I mean literally sharing a very difficult journey.
Thank you.
That's bravery too. So thank you so much. What a great way for me as a podcaster to kick off a new year with such an inspirational chat. So anyway, wish you good things. Go RU, and we'll be in touch.
Subscribe to Kylie's channel.
Yes. Thank you.